Hola, I'm Marsha Scarbrough, International Living Spain Correspondent. Like every country, Spain has immigration laws, and as expats, we're basically immigrants, so we need to figure out how to be legal immigrants. So let's take a look at the various visas and residency permits that Spain offers. Here they are. A visa is paperwork that lets you get into a country, and a residency permit is paperwork that allows you to stay in a country. So here's what Spain has to offer: the tourist visa, the student staying permit, the non-lucrative visa and residency permit, sometimes called the retirement visa, the employment visa and residency permit, the self-employment visa and residency permit, that's also called the autónomo, the entrepreneur visa and residency permit, the investor visa and residency permit, that's also known as the golden visa, the long duration permanent residency permit, and the family roots visa and residency. So the tourist visa lets you stay in Spain or any combination of countries in the Schengen Zone for 90 days out of 180 days. Okay, what's the Schengen Zone? The Schengen Zone is an alliance of 26 countries that allows free movement across its borders. It's kind of like the EU, but not exactly. Some countries are in the EU and not in the Schengen Zone, and some countries are in the Schengen Zone and not in the EU. So on the map here, the blue countries are Schengen Zone, the orange countries are eligible to be in the Schengen Zone soon, and the gray countries are not in the Schengen Zone. For example, let's say you went to France for 2 weeks, and then you went to Italy for 3 weeks, and then you went to Spain for the remainder of 90 days. And remember, 90 days is not really 3 months. So then you would have to leave the Schengen Zone, say you go to Mexico or you go to Thailand, and then you can come back after you've been out 90 days. Now, this can get complicated if you're in for a week and out for 2 weeks and back in for a month and out for a month and a half. So there are calculators on the internet to help you figure it out, and this is one of them. The student staying permit is for full-time students. You have to be in class 20 hours a week. The non-lucrative visa or residency permit is also called the retirement visa, and we will be coming back to look at that in more detail. The employment visa and residency permit is when you have a job working for a company in Spain, or an American company has you working at their office in Spain, and getting that visa would be handled by your employer. The self-employment visa and residency permit is also known as the autónomo, and it is for full-time freelancers. It has fees, monthly fees that escalate rather rapidly, and tax requirements that would probably make it not very profitable for part-time freelancers. You need a decent full-time freelance income. The entrepreneur visa or residency permit is what you would get to start a business in Spain. And for that, you would have a Spanish immigration lawyer write up the business plan for you, so it would be what the immigration office wants to see. And that goes for the autónomo too, the freelance visa. You would get a lawyer to write up your business plan so that it follows the format that they're looking for. The investor visa and residency permit that is also known as the golden visa, and this can be a great ticket for living and working in Spain, and we're going to come back and look at that in some detail. The long duration residency permit is the permanent residency you get after being on one of the other residency permits for 5 years. The family roots visa and residency permit is what you get when you have a parent or minor child that is a Spanish citizen. Here are the requirements for the non-lucrative or retirement visa. You need 30,000 euros, about $33,680 in a bank account per person, or passive income from pensions or investments of 2,130 euros a month, plus another 532 euros a month for your spouse and each dependent child. For a couple, it comes to about $3,000 a month of passive income. Income from rental properties, remote work, and salaries is not accepted because they feel it's unstable income. You need proof of private health insurance in Spain, a clean FBI report, and a doctor's letter saying you have no infectious diseases. You're not permitted to work with this visa, and that includes remote work. We think it's a little controversial, so we'll talk more about it later. Here's the wild card. Consulates can add other requirements, and they do. So you have to apply for this visa at the Spanish consulate that's designated for the area of your permanent residence in the U.S. To find that, you have to go on the main Spain immigration website, look at the locations of the consulates, and if there's any question which one is closest to you, you have to write and find out so you know exactly who you're dealing with. So they can add other things. So in the end, Los Angeles will not be the same as Miami. They might add things like asking for your income tax returns. Some do, some don't. They might add saying you have to have leased a property or own a property in Spain to live in. Some ask for that and some don't. So you need to take a careful look so that you know what you're up against. And if anything seems really unreasonable, you can hire a Spanish immigration lawyer to represent you and walk your paperwork through. And in some cases, I think that's a good idea. Everything has to be translated into Spanish by a certified translator. You have to present the paperwork at the consulate in person, and they take your passport at that point. And from that point that you present the paperwork, it might be 3 months for them to process it. So you might be 3 months without your passport. And then when it's approved or not, you have to go back to the consulate in person to pick it up and pick up your passport. So here are the requirements for the golden visa, also called the investor visa. To get this visa, you buy property in Spain valued at 500,000 euros or more. That's about $565,000, $613,000. But with this purchase, you get residency for yourself, your spouse, and all your dependent children. And you get permits to work in Spain for yourself and your spouse. You need the same financial documentation, the same FBI report, and the proof of private health insurance. The 500,000 euros must be unencumbered, and the purchase must be made within 90 days prior to the application. So it can't be a property that you've had for 2 years. Now, the good news is that your applications are processed within 10 days, and you can apply while you're in Spain on a tourist visa, which means you avoid the consulates. And you only need to spend 1 day a year in Spain to keep this visa valid. With the non-lucrative visa, you have to spend 6 months a year in Spain to keep the visa valid. So if you can afford it, the golden visa has really a lot of advantages. Now let's talk about the visas that Spain doesn't have. There's no blanket work permit. So it's company by company unless you're an autonomo or a permanent resident or on a golden visa. And there's a lot of controversy around which is the correct visa for remote workers. In this area, immigration law has not really kept pace with the gig economy. Some consulates have refused non-lucrative visas to people who mentioned that they have remote work. And then it seems like the freelance visa, the autonomo, would be the logical one, but the fees on that are so stiff that it really doesn't make sense for part-time remote workers. Recently, a Spanish immigration lawyer told me that she was able to get non-lucrative visas for some remote workers. So possibly things are changing. Certainly, it would be to Spain's advantage to have remote workers spending their salary in Spain. And I think there's hope that the new government leadership is going to address this issue. But for now, if remote work is part of your expat life plan, I suggest you get a Spanish immigration lawyer to handle your visa application. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed? Just take a deep breath. This is very doable. You just go step by step. Over 37,000 Americans live in Spain. They all got residency visas. I did it myself without a lawyer. You can too.